October 31st, 1978. It was the night that he came home. 10 years later, Michael Myers returned home. Not just to Haddonfield, Illinois, but to theaters all over the world. After the success of Halloween 10 years prior, Rick Rosenthal directed and John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wrote and produced the sequel, Halloween 2. After attacking the town and invading a hospital, the movie ended with Dr. Samuel Loomis blowing himself and Michael Myers up to a fiery end. Regardless of one's feeling towards Halloween 2, the ending most certainly was impactful and felt like an appropriate end to this two-movie saga. Especially for Carpenter and Hill, who after this two-parter went ahead with the original vision of making the Halloween movies an anthology. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, didn't tackle a serial killer, but instead dabbled with witchcraft by way of technology and a very catchy song.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween.
While Season of the Witch has gained a following in recent years and seen as one of the strongest movies under the Halloween name, back then the movie was heavily criticized for not including the character everyone came to watch, Michael Myers. After a failure in the box office and with audiences, producers and production company Trancast International Films went ahead with bringing back the beloved killer of teenagers that audiences know and love. Carpenter and Hill were originally attached to the project, with Hill to be the producer and Carpenter helping out with the script alongside Dennis Etchison. However, executive producer Mustafa Akkad wasn't in favor of the script, deeming it too cerebral, feeling as though it'd be better if they went back to the serial killer roots of the franchise. With that, Carpenter and Hill not only left the project, but the franchise as a whole, selling their interest and walking away. Alan B. McElroy worked on the script, Paul Freeman was hired as the producer, and Dwight H. Little as the director. With that, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, was properly formed.
10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer. Under the cover of darkness, he carried out the most horrifying mass murder on record. 16 people in cold blood. Ever since that night, no one has forgotten his name. And Halloween has never been the same. Now, Michael Myers has come home. He has returned for one more night of unholy terror.
Michael! Somebody help me! He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
Oh, God!
Who's gonna be next?
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Maybe nobody knows how to stop him.
Having survived the explosion of the hospital 10 years prior, Michael, now played by the combo of Tom Morga and George P. Wilbur, has spent all the time in the care of the Richmond Federal Sanitarium, unresponsive and unmoving. During a transfer to a different hospital, Michael overhears people discussing his family and a sadly dead Laurie Strode as Jamie Lee Curtis declined returning to the franchise. But things improve for him when he hears about a very alive niece of his. One killing an ambulance sting later, Michael heads on back home. Said niece is Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris. Adopted by the Carruthers, poor Jamie suffers nightmares of her uncle, saddened by the passing of her mother, and bullied by a bunch of shit asshole prick bullies. Seriously, how are these bullies not talked about more? These are the single worst people in the history of this franchise, and not all of cinema. Fuck these. Anyways, Jamie goes trick-or-treating with her sister Rachel. Meanwhile, Dr. Sam Loomis, still played by the ever-awesome Donald Pleasance, Michael's longtime psychiatrist and fellow survivor in the explosion. Don't you just love that people don't really die from explosions? Loomis learns of his escape and races to warn the authorities. The town of Haddonfield goes into lockdown, and a group of armed locals, angered over Michael's past killings, form a vigilante posse against him. Despite Loomis's efforts and the police's protection, Michael attacks Jamie and her foster sister Rachel to a showdown at a school and later at a farmhouse. The film ends with the police and the vigilante posse ambushing Michael and blasting him to a glorious display of gunfire. Michaels is dead. People are traumatized but satisfied that his evil is over. Or is it? That's when we get a shocking final twist. Jamie, now in a trance-like state similar to her uncle when he was a child, stabs her foster mother with a knife, echoing Michael's childhood crime and horrifying Loomis. His evil is not dead. It lives on in Jamie. A child started it, now a child continues it. Initial reviews for Halloween 4 were negative, deeming it a rehash and criticizing its lack of scares, suspense, and originality. However, fans were more positive, and in retrospective, the movie has since received its just due across the board, praising the acting, characters, atmosphere, cinematography, and several other things. And I say good because this movie is the best sequel in Halloween's history, and outside of the original, the one with the strongest story. Halloween 4 is a great example of continuing a story in a creative and compelling way. The characters are not only likable, but they aren't stupid, and a horror movie that's very much appreciated. Michaels is just as menacing as before, attacking and killing everything in his way. No mercy, no heart, just focus on the task at hand. While his characterization is still good, how he appears is an issue. Cornell and Wilbur certainly do their best, but they were a tad too short to play Michael. Plus, it's clear they were wearing shoulder pads in order to make Michael look bigger than he was, and in one shot, it almost looks comical. And that's not even getting into the mask and how off it looks. The hair looks too wild, the mask appears too tight, and far too often we get shots of his normal human eyes. And while Michael is human, we shouldn't be reminded of it. Thankfully, he is still written well, so we forget some of the issues. Plus, we still get enough great shots of him looking unnerving. The look of this movie is amazing. Vibrant, but still moody. A small town, yet we still get to see so much more in Haddonfield this time around. Halloween, the holiday, isn't so much of the movie. Not just with the kids dressing up, but visiting stores, seeing trick-or-treaters, and by and large, taking advantage of its scenery more. Heck, I wouldn't say it takes more advantage of the holiday than even the original. Our leads in Jamie and Rachel are great new additions to the Halloween cast. Their bond as sisters is believable, a joy to watch, given their bond is the heart of the movie. Both have different plots that doesn't disrupt the other, fitting perfectly with their age and as characters. Rachel not being able to spend time with her boyfriend or simply hang out, given she's the one slated to take care of her kid's sister. Jamie is struggling in this stage of her life, not feeling she fits in with her family and traumatized by what could happen if Michael comes to get her. Having nightmares and even being bullied by it at school, especially by those kids. The one thing these sisters have in common is them being thrust into an issue they shouldn't be in and forced to survive, because the alternative is being on the receiving end of a brutal death. Loomis is as compelling as ever, scarred emotionally and now literally by his history with Michael. Once more, he has to return to Haddonfield to help save them from doom. While he is more erratic in this version, it feels earned. He's still human, and he genuinely wants to save the innocents now caught in the crossfire. It isn't just him being a screaming madman that reminds people of the danger of Michael Myers. No. That was the job of the crappy sequels. The new sheriff is pretty good too. Though skeptical, he agrees to take precautions against the killer, even plans to prepare better than Brackett did in the original, because if not, then the very worst will happen. Even the redneck Hicks are great additions. They could have just been stereotypes, one no character is meant to die, but they're giving enough time to showcase that their action against Michael is one of emotional anger. He's hurt good people, people that they know. And when Michael attacks the police precinct, slaughtering the police officers there in one of the movie's most harrowing images, they decide to take the fight against him. Even the scummy boyfriend of Rachel who cheats on her has a bit of a redemption arc, giving Rachel and Jimmy time to escape while he fights Michael, knowing he'll get killed. What Halloween 4 gets the most right is the theme of evil forever lingering in this world. But what we get with our protagonist is a display that decency is just as important, that with enough people, we can truly fight back, even with the odds against us. It's nice to see Halloween 4 actually be uplifting in that regard, not just being misery or pain, and we're with the characters all the way through, hoping they'll pull through this, which is more than I can say for other Halloween movies. You hear that, bad Halloween characters? You hear that, Busta Rhymes?
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
However, this is still Halloween. This is still a story of forever undying evil. And the ending of this movie is still the most disturbing one we've ever seen. Jamie, who throughout this movie has certainly been distressed, but still a sweet and pleasant girl, ended completely changed. Different. Maybe having gone through such an ordeal was too much for someone her age. Maybe it's all the nightmares and worries that brought this out of her. Maybe, like her uncle, this was within her the entire time. No moment of the mind cracking or a certain event that affected her. She's been awakened, and now Haddonfield could very well suffer through another nightmare, never finding peace, just death and destruction. The following movies will renege on this, because they're cowards, leading fans to wonder what could have been. And what we got with the 5th and 6th was not good. We shouldn't let that drown out the quality of Halloween 4. Though I myself ponder the what-ifs, I still will forever cherish this movie. Michael returned in a big way. It gave us not one, but two great sympathetic final girls in Jamie and Rachel. It recaptured that small-town terror and atmosphere, and that chilly October feeling that made the original Halloween so effective. So even if Halloween 5 and 6 lost a thread, Halloween 4 deserves to be remembered as the film that revived the franchise. A reminder that for one crisp, haunting night in Haddonfield in 1988, the boogeyman still knew how to stalk the shadows and make us afraid to look out the window. And yet, even that's a fruitless idea. Michael may be the embodiment, but there's evil all around us. Doesn't matter if it's with a hulking boogeyman with no humanity or a small, unsuspecting little girl. Those beside you hide more than you could ever imagine. So be cautious of any knife or scissor in your surroundings, whatever lurks in the shadows, and pray hope and kindness will be enough for you to survive. Because these incidents sadly don't just happen on a small town in Illinois on a gloomy and cold night on Halloween.